A fearless and outspoken advocate for the rights of all people, Saint Oscar Romero spoke for the victims of suffering in El Salvador during the 1980s war. At that time, Romero pleaded with Salvadoran soldiers.
En nombre de Dios, pues, y en nombre de este sufrido pueblo, cuyos lamentos suben hasta el cielo cada día más tumultuosos, les suplico, les ruego, les ordeno, en nombre de Dios, cese la represión.
The next day, Romero was fatally shot while holding the Eucharist at a hospital. In 2015, Archbishop Oscar Romero was beatified, and Pope Francis declared him a martyr for his defense of human rights. Oscar Romero was canonized as a saint in 2018. Established in 2000 in recognition of Romero's legacy, the University of Dayton Human Rights Center bestows the Romero Human Rights Award on individuals and organizations whose work has contributed significantly to promote the dignity of all persons and the alleviation of human suffering and injustice. In the words of Saint Romero, we know that every effort to better society, especially when injustice and sin are so ingrained, is an effort that God blesses, that God wants, that God demands of us. Through this award, the Human Rights Center pays tribute to the tireless efforts of human rights defenders who stand up for justice, peace, and equality.
Welcome everyone to the 2021 Romero Human Rights Award ceremony at the Human Rights Center at the University of Dayton. Since 2000, the University of Dayton has bestowed this award on an individual or organization whose work has contributed significantly to the alleviation of human suffering and injustice. This year's theme is environmental and climate justice, and we celebrate the work of environmental and climate justice advocates on the eve of this year's Earth Day. We are also launching the multimedia work of our Moral Courage Project, of the Human Rights Center and Proof Media for Social Justice, entitled Poison and Power, The Fight for Water, which spotlights the stories of upstanders in Detroit and Flint, Michigan, and Appalachia. We greatly appreciate your attendance at this event, which is the culmination of our Romero Human Rights Award virtual symposium, which has taken place over the course of the last month. This symposium has explored and brought awareness to the efforts of environmental justice defenders, the challenges and opportunities they face, the decreasing space for advocacy and participation in environmental governance, and the increasing attacks on environmental and water justice defenders. The ceremony is available in English and Spanish. Please use the interpretation channel at the bottom of your toolbar to indicate which channel, English or Spanish, you would like to hear the ceremony in. We appreciate your attendance, and we hope you will enjoy our Romero Human Rights Award ceremony. It will begin with Scott Poplow, Campus Minister for Liturgical Music. Following the song, Cheyenne Palmer from our campus ministry will provide a prayer, and then Sebastiana Par Alvarez, the timekeeper of Alchi, will offer a Mayan spiritual reflection. Once we have finished our spiritual devotion, Mauricio Lopez, former executive secretary of Red Ecclesial Pan Amazonica, REPAM, which was set up in 2014 in answer to the grave concerns of Pope Francis and the Latin American Church regarding the deep wounds the Amazonia and its people bear, will provide his reflections on the legacy of Saint Oscar Romero in the context of environmental and climate justice today.
We cannot own the sunlit sky, the moon, the wildflowers growing, for we are part of all that is within life's river flowing. With open hands receive and share the gifts of God's creation, that all may have abundant life in every earthly nation. When bodies shiver in the night, and weary wait for morning, when children have no bread but tears, and war horns sound their warning, God calls humanity to wake, to join in common labor, that all may have abundant life in oneness with their neighbor. God calls humanity to join as partners in creating a future free from want or fear, life's goodness celebrating. That new world beckons from afar, invites our shared endeavor, that all may have abundant life, and peace endure forever.
Now please join us in prayer. A prayer in the spirit of Saint Oscar Romero. Loving God of creation, we thank you for this opportunity to gather today in celebration of the legacy of Saint Oscar Romero. We come to you in prayer to bless this ceremony as we recognize the spirit of love and justice in our midst. We gather in thanksgiving for Aura Lolita Chavez Izcaquic, whose tireless leadership and commitment to human rights and the environment has amplified the voices of her community and has inspired many others around the world. We ask that the hearts and minds of those in power be changed to see the earth and all creation as a resource to be tended to and not exploited. May those who make decisions include the voices of all peoples, especially those least heard. From the mountains of Guatemala to the neighborhoods of Flint, Michigan, across the Americas and around the world, may we value, respect, and cherish our fellow human beings and this precious earth on which we live. May all of us gathered be inspired to work toward justice and peace through the example of Lolita and so many others in our communities who breathe life and hope into a future of peace. Saint Oscar once said, "Even when they call us mad, when they call us subservices and communist, and all the epithets they put on us. We know we only preach the subversive witness of the Beatitudes, which have turned everything upside down. Let us live out the radical gospel call of the Beatitudes, in which Jesus states, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Today we remember and celebrate all peacemakers who work towards a peace that only comes through liberation, or as St. Oscar also declared, a peace which is the generous, tranquil contribution of all to the good of all. And now I will take us into this prayer in Spanish. Dios amoroso de la creación, te agradecemos por la oportunidad de reunirnos hoy en celebración de la legacia de San Oscar Romero. Venimos en oración para bendecir esta ceremonia mientras reconocemos el espíritu de amor y justicia entre nosotros. Nos reunimos en acción de gracias por Aura Lolita Chávez Izcacuic, cuyo incansable liderazgo y compromiso con los derechos humanos y el medio ambiente ha amplificado las voces de su comunidad y ha inspirado a muchos otros alrededor del mundo. Pedimos que los corazones y mentes de los que tienen el poder cambien para ver la tierra y toda la creación como un recurso que debe ser atendido y no explotado. Que quienes toman decisiones incluyan las voces de todos los pueblos, especialmente los menos escuchados. Desde las montañas de Guatemala hasta los vecindarios de Flint, Michigan, cruzando las Américas y en todo el mundo, que todos valoremos y respetemos a nuestros semejantes y esta tierra preciosa en la que vivimos. Que todos los reunidos nos inspiremos para trabajar por la justicia y la paz a través del ejemplo de Lolita y de tantos otros en nuestras comunidades que dan vida y esperanza a un futuro de paz. San Oscar dijo una vez, incluso cuando nos llaman locos, cuando nos llaman subversivos y comunistas y todos los epítetos que nos ponen, sabemos que solo predicamos el testimonio subversivo de las bienaventuranzas que han puesto todas las patas arriba. Vivamos del Evangelio en el que Jesús dice, bienaventurados los pacificadores, porque ellos serán llamados hijos de Dios. Y hoy recordamos y celebramos a todos los pacificadores que trabajan por una paz que solo llega a través de la liberación, o como también declaró San Oscar, una paz que es la contribución generosa y tranquila de todos al bien de todos. May we be inspired by Lolita and continue to ask our Creator for patience, courage, and strength we all need to be co-creators of this peace on earth. En el nombre del Padre, Hijo y Espíritu Santo. Amén.
Spertich upushkach, spertich upushuleum, spertich el baltich, kach baltich, wikakach umoshkach, ushkutkach ushkutuleum. Chuach chawan qil wekachit ik, kamoteshir, kaslemal, kamoteshir, kakit, kamoteshir, kakashik. Buenas tardes, corazón del cielo y corazón de la tierra. Buenas tardes, salida del sol, caída del sol, salida del sagrado aire y caída del sagrado aire. Ante las energías del Nahual Cajipik, agradecemos nuestro aliento, agradecemos nuestra respiración, agradecemos el sagrado aire y hoy encendemos nuestra luz que permite nuestra conexión con el cosmos, con el universo y con la madre naturaleza. Gracias, abuelas, gracias, abuelos, por nuestro camino. Gracias por este momento muy especial que se está suscitando en la Universidad de Dayton, de Ohio, Estados Unidos, en la entrega del premio hacia la hermana Aura Lolita Chávez, que dignifica el trabajo hacia la defensa de los derechos humanos. Gracias una vez, corazón del cielo y de la tierra. Gracias 2 veces, gracias 3 veces. Bendice nuestros caminos, guía nuestros caminos, que tengamos mucha luz, buena y útil existencia. Aperturamos esta actividad con las energías cósmicas. Aperturamos esta actividad con la sabiduría y el acompañamiento de nuestras abuelas y de nuestros abuelos. Traemos acá a la memoria nuestras ancestras y nuestros ancestros que físicamente no están con nosotros, pero también están aquí presentes a través del aire, a través del fuego. Así sea.
We will now welcome Mauricio Lopez from REPAM for his reflection on the legacy of Romero.
Thank you very much, Shelley. I'm very happy to be here today, and I'm very grateful to have a chance to speak about the legacy of Romero in our work with REPAM for the indigenous peoples in the Amazon region. Let me quote Saint Oscar Romero to begin this talk. I have often been threatened with death. I must tell you, as a Christian, I do not believe in a death without resurrection. If I'm killed, I shall arise again in the Salvadorian people. You may say, if they succeed in killing me, that I pardon and bless those who do it. Would indeed that they might be convinced that they will waste their time. The bishop will die, but God's church, which is the people, will never perish. In our experience in REPAM, we've drawn many direct elements from Romero's testimony. Allow me to offer you 3 tripods which might help us understand how his legacy is alive in our mission of the church today, not only in the Amazon, but everywhere else in Latin America. The first tripod is related to the need for a change as societies. The first element in this tripod is gratuity, reciprocity. We've lost the capacity to give free what we have received freely. And we have merchandised our whole conception on nature and even our relationship with one another. The spiritual tools that we need are there to help us change that, perhaps not immediately or drastically, but little by little. This is very much in the heart of Romero's testimony, the need for a spiritual grasp, a grassroots on reality, which will help us respond to the challenges of today. The second element, very much present in Romero, is synodality. We are going through a process of a change in the church to be more synodal, that is, walking together with one another. But with indigenous peoples, we need to embrace all spiritual traditions to come together, to converge as drops of water, just as it happens with the big Amazon and the small rivers that come together and give birth to this ocean river. Small drops of water which come together, as Romero's testimony has been for us, and one that continues to be alive, even beyond his apparent death. The third element of this tripod is territoriality. We need to seriously pay attention and listen to what's happening in reality, in the incarnational dynamic. We need to listen to the voices of those who are there, not only to offer some recognition, but to embrace what they're all about and their true being. This was also part of Romero's pilgrimage in this world, to be present, to listen, to take part in the dynamic of the people day in and day out. The second tripod that we've drawn from Romero's testimony is related to urgent appeals, those that are not negotiable in reality. The first one is inequality. He was killed, at least in flesh, by denouncing this inequality in the world. We have failed as societies when we see a world where we have 1% of the population holding close to 80% of the riches of this world. In front of this, we know that we have failed as a society. There's nothing we can do to protect indigenous peoples, forests, if we don't really tackle the situation of inequality. 24 persons in this planet hold the same amount of riches as half of the population in this world, the poorest half of the population of this world. The spiritual approach needs to come in there and try to change that, because any initiative we promote, and of course we need to applaud all of those initiatives, will not be able to change anything unless we tackle the inequalities of this world. The second element in this second tripod is the violation of human rights. Again, part of the mission of Romero, as part of the pastoral identity, is the defense of human rights. Many of us working directly with the territories see those violations happening every day. People from the faith traditions, but especially indigenous communities, being murdered every day, and we remain silent. Of course, we try to speak, but we seem to be focused more on other elements, but we need to respond to that. Yes, there is a risk, as we know, and as it was for St. Oscar Romero, but there is an ethical approach that we need to actually embrace. The third element in this tripod is the functional approach, the face washing in relationship with the protection of the peoples and the forests. We need to be coherent and recognize the mystery of life kept in those places by the indigenous peoples, or mostly by them. And of course, we need to offer some economic alternatives, but they need to come from that recognition of the beauty of those places and the mystery in those. And the third element, which I think is the key one in St. Oscar Romero, which has proven to be crucial for us in our work in the Amazon, beyond the Amazon, so that's why I want to offer it to you, no matter where you are, is the personal, communal, and spiritual transformation. The first one being metanoia. What does that mean? Metanoia actually means a radical conversion of the heart. If we don't change our inner being first, nothing of what we do, forums, conference, etc., will be enough. And I think indigenous peoples can help us change our hearts. Metanoia can actually happen in our life if we pay attention to those testimonies. The second element is alterity, or otherness. We need to recognize that our future, our lives, go along with how we care for one another. And Pope Francis has tackled this in Laudato Si, implicating our sister Mother Earth as a true other. Can we really understand the other, especially those who are the poorest of the poorest, as part of this alterity? And even more so, can we recognize our sister Mother Earth as an authentic other? And the third and final element is paresia. That is a courageous going out, the denouncing of the structures of sin, the response to the cries and hopes of our world today. Not just speaking, but really going out there and responding to the cries, embracing the mystery of love, life, and spirituality which lies in the territories and with the peoples. Romero was once asked to explain that strange phrase, option for the poor. And he replied, and I quote, "I offer you this by way of example. A building is on fire and you're watching it burn. standing and wondering if everyone is safe. And someone tells you that your mother and your sister are inside that building. Your attitude changes completely. You're frantic. Your mother and sister are burning, and you do anything to rescue them, even at the cost of getting charred. That's what it means to be truly committed. If we look at poverty from the outside, as if we are looking at a fire, that's not to opt for the poor, no matter how concerned we may be. We should get inside as if our own mother and sister were burning. Indeed, it's Christ who's there, hungry and suffering. This has proven to be very powerful for us in our mission in the Amazon, because sadly, the Amazon territory is actually on fire. And it's a fire that's been caused by the desire of making more profit. That's why Pope Francis said in Querida Amazonia, I dream of an Amazon region that can preserve its distinctive cultural riches, where the beauty of our humanity shines forth in so many varied ways. I dream of an Amazon region that can jealously preserve its overwhelming natural beauty and the superabundant life teeming in its rivers and forests. We believers encounter in the Amazon region a theological locus, a place, a space where God himself reveals himself and summons his sons and daughters to join. And taking an opportunity to express my gratitude to be here today, I want to bring a quote from the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Mayas, which is also very inspiring to our work in protecting human rights in the Amazon. And it says like this: they tore off our fruits, they cut off our branches, they burned our trunks, but they could not kill our roots. In our mission in that territory, we follow that path, trying to recognize and embrace the roots of hope that are there. When the Pope visited the Amazon region, he said to the peoples this: the church is not alien to your problems and your lives. She does not want to be aloof from your way of life and organization. We need the native peoples to shape the culture of the local church in Amazonia, the peripheries, and lighten the center. We don't look at the peripheries in a philanthropic way. We know and recognize that we can only change the course of our future as humankind if we pay attention to what was considered something excluded, but now becomes the cornerstone of the conversion of the world. Starting from the fundamental premises of dialogue and the quest for the common good, the recent Synod of the Amazon region has contributed to the development of new paths for the church and for integral ecology. The Synod for the Amazon, and more widely the mission of the church in this territory, are in fact expressions of a significant accompaniment to the daily life of the peoples and communities who live there. Our common pathway has given us the opportunity to look at the identity of the indigenous peoples and at their ability to protect ecosystems according to their cultural traditions, and no doubt their worldview can enable our non-Amazonian societies to create appropriate conditions for appreciating, respecting, and learning from them. In this way, we endeavor to overcome the misconception that this territory is an empty or a backward space. Indeed, we shall draw useful guidelines from it to identify the reason for our own failures as Western societies with regard to caring for our common home or caring for the other. We as REPAM conducted a consultation process, an unprecedented consultation process in which we had more than 87,000 people participating. These was people coming from the local populations, people of the church, indigenous peoples, through assemblies, thematic forums, and debates. And the presence of the indigenous peoples was very important. There was an expression of their desires, which was embraced in the home and the heart of the church. So we could go from speaking about listening to them and being changed by them to actually doing it. So this was very important for us. The Amazon Synod turns into a cornerstone in the process, a milestone for the church. And I think this is very important. Many more indigenous peoples, the mission and the commitment to protecting the human rights of the peoples and the territories are now in the center of the church, at the heart of its mission. So as you may know, the Amazon region is a basin, and it was seen as a space to be occupied and divided for the benefit of external interests. In fact, at first, this region was considered an unoccupied territory. Once its natural resources were discovered, it began to be considered as a region of considerable economic potential. However, Amazonia continues to be perceived as a backyard, a world cut off from the urban centers, one that represents a demographic void. These are connotations that allow the interests of certain groups to consider it available for development, while its riches in terms of culture, fauna, and flora are often rendered invisible. This area covers a total expanse of about 7.5 million square kilometers. It is divided between 8 South American countries: Brazil, Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Peru, Suriname, and Venezuela, plus the overseas territory of French Guyana. It accounts for 43% of the surface area of South America. The Amazon region is home to 20% of the Earth's fresh and frozen water. It is home to 34% of the primary forests of the planet, which in turn are home to between 30 or 40% of the world's flora and fauna. It is a biome. It is a living system. It is under threat. If Saint Romero was here today with us, and he is here with us, he would continue to join us in the protection of this land and the indigenous peoples, with the same keys that I shared with you at the beginning, looking at this house on fire and knowing that our mother, our father, our sisters and brothers are there. And if we are to save that and save our own future, we need to enter and try to respond to what's happening there. Pope Francis knows the Amazonian peoples and the questions they ask. He told them, the native Amazonian peoples have probably never been so threatened on their own lands as they are at present. Amazonia is being disputed on various fronts. On the one hand, there is this neo-extractivism and the pressure being exerted by major business interests that want to lay hands on its petroleum, gas, wood, gold, and to establish forms of agro-industrial monocultivation. But on the other hand, its lands are being threatened by the distortion of certain policies aimed at the conservation of nature without taking into account the men and women, specifically you, my Amazonian brothers and sisters who inhabit it. I considered it essential to begin creating institutional expressions of respect, recognition, and dialogue with you, the indigenous peoples. And he did so to the Amazon Synod. About 35 indigenous peoples, people from the Amazon, came to Rome to present their own cries and hopes and to take part in this reformation process in the church. The church in the Amazon wants to follow the social doctrine of the church, the testimony of Romero, committing to justice, peace, and the dignity of every human being without distinction. The church wants to continue working for the integrity of creation in response to a predominant model of society that leads to exclusion and inequality and causes what Pope Francis has called a real culture of waste, or a throwaway culture, a globalization of indifference. That's why we need to listen to them, to pay special care for indigenous communities and their traditions, because for them, land is not a commodity, but rather a gift from God, and a gift from their ancestors who rest there, a sacred space with which they need to interact if they are to maintain their identity and values. There has been some advancement in terms of human rights in the states where the Amazon region is, but there is such pressure, especially in these days of pandemic, that we need to do much more. So we ask you to connect with REPAM work and other initiatives to continue working with indigenous peoples. Most of the states in this territory have signed the main international conventions on human rights and related instruments associated with the rights of indigenous peoples and the care of the environment, but they are failing openly to really fulfill them. The United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, to which the Pope has referred on several occasions, contains important rights, such as the right to self-determination, by virtue of which those peoples freely decide their political status and freely pursue their own economic, social, and cultural development. Most of the countries in the Amazon are also signatories of the ILO 169 convention, but again, nothing is really changing. Many of them are being murdered, kicked out of their territory, and in many cases, it is only the church, the presence, that can help them and accompany them, because this is an incarnated presence of the church. Not a few members of the church also have been victims of violence and persecution for being there, just as Oscar Romero experienced when he was among us. To finish in the last minute, I just would like to invite us to pay attention to those who are the most vulnerable among the vulnerable, the indigenous peoples in voluntary isolation. They must be considered with the utmost care because of their high degree of vulnerability, their specific anthropological condition, and the need to protect them from any process that may result in a violation of their human rights. We need to make this challenge our own. As a church, and I invite you, members of Dayton University and friends of the Human Rights Center, I invite you to follow the appeals of Pope Francis, desiring communion among all our societies. We need to live a culture of encounter in the Amazon with indigenous peoples, the communities that inhabit the banks of the rivers, the Afro-descendants, the small farmers, the residents of the cities, communities and faith, and establish respectful and constructive dialogue with other religions and political and social entities. In this spirit, we continue to participate with the Holy See as REPAM and with the indigenous peoples themselves in some spaces and regional encounters of the United Nations and its system. So we ask you to continue doing that. For us, members of the Catholic Church, we need to continue living in hope and be witnesses to hope and cooperation. We want to make our own the enormous challenge that Pope Francis proposes to us, and certainly with Oscar Romero. I believe that the essential problem is how to reconcile the right to development, including the social and cultural right, with the protection of the characteristics of the indigenous peoples and their territories. In this sense, the right to prior and informed consent should always prevail. Thank you very much.
Todas, mi nombre es Marucia López Cruz y soy integrante de la Iniciativa Mesoamericana de Defensoras. Como mexicana, como mesoamericana, como activista, es una enorme alegría y un gran orgullo saber que compañeras tan queridas como Lolita Chávez vayan a recibir el Premio Oscar Romero de Derechos Humanos. Como sabemos, ser defensora del territorio y los bienes naturales en México y Centroamérica, en nuestra Mesoamérica, significa estar en riesgo de muerte. La compañera Lolita Chávez ha vivido en su cuerpo, ha vivido en su vida, lo ha vivido su pueblo y su familia, una represión histórica, una represión colonial, una represión capitalista y racista que sigue hasta nuestros días. Ha sido criminalizada, ha sido atacada, ha sido amenazada de muerte, ha tenido que exiliarse, todo por defender la vida, por defender su territorio del despojo y el saqueo del capitalismo extractivo que no le importa pasar por encima de la vida y los derechos con tal de obtener mayores riquezas. Ha sido objeto de ataques por gobiernos que han sido secuestrados por las empresas, por el poder corporativo y usan todo el aparato represivo para detener estas voces disidentes que están cuidando la vida y que están protegiendo el planeta. Nos sentimos muy honradas como Iniciativa Mesoamericana de Defensoras de poder enviar este mensaje, de expresarles que para nosotras Lolita es una esperanza de vida, la cosmovisión de los pueblos originarios, su manera de entender el territorio, su manera de entender la relación que debemos tener como seres humanos con los otros seres de la naturaleza, es sin duda el camino que tenemos que seguir. Y es un camino contrario al capitalismo, es un camino que pone en el centro de la sociedad el cuidado de la vida, que pone en el centro el protagonismo de los pueblos en la decisión de su propio futuro. Así que nos sumamos a este día de celebración y en medio de la difícil situación que tantas compañeras indígenas y defensoras de derechos humanos están pasando hoy en día, tener motivos para celebrar es algo muy importante. No perdemos la esperanza porque hay compañeras como Lolita Chávez, como el Consejo de Pueblos Quichés, como los pueblos originarios que siguen resistiendo y nos siguen mostrando el camino. Nos toca a todas acompañarles, aprender de ellas y sin duda ponernos codo con codo a transformar este sistema de muerte por un sistema de vida. Muchas gracias por este premio para nuestra querida Lolita Chávez.
Chica majo rutili wich inimla hiwanogel hanikpaco kilak chewon loklakij Xocoje chica majo rutili wich pubiri katinamit quiche. Reciban un cordial saludo. Para quienes hoy nos están viendo desde el territorio maya quiché, mandamos nuestros saludos. Mi nombre es Sebastiana Parr, autoridad ancestral, defensora de derechos humanos del territorio y madre naturaleza. Es para mí un gran gusto poder saludarles y también honrar este hermoso día muy especial para nuestra hermana Aura Lolita Chávez Ixcaquic. Un saludo también muy cordial. Saludamos este proceso, saludamos este trabajo porque es fruto de la lucha y del trabajo que se está haciendo para la defensa de los derechos de los pueblos indígenas y para la defensa de la madre naturaleza, que es también un ser de derechos, no son recursos como el pensamiento occidental nos ha hecho ver. Es para nosotros y para nosotras una oportunidad, pero también es para nosotros dignificar el trabajo que como defensora se está realizando. Para el Consejo de Pueblos Quichés es un premio muy significativo que viene a dignificar la lucha y que también viene a reivindicar los procesos que se llevan a favor de los derechos humanos, a favor de la madre naturaleza. Contarles un poquito que el Consejo de Pueblos Quichés, del cual es parte nuestra compañera hermana Aura Lolita Chávez Ixcaquic, es un movimiento que nació hace 13 años, en donde está integrado por hombres, mujeres, líderes, lideresas, niños, niñas y jóvenes de las diferentes comunidades de Santa Cruz del Quiché, y quienes estamos en un movimiento y lucha permanente para la defensa de nuestros bosques, para la defensa de nuestros derechos humanos. Este premio que hoy se le va a entregar a Lolita es un premio que significa bastante para también defender los derechos humanos. Esto también tiene un significado político para el trabajo que se realiza a favor de los derechos humanos, a favor de los derechos de los pueblos indígenas y de la madre naturaleza. Compartirles que desde hace 20 años venimos caminando con la hermana maya quiché Aura Lolita Chávez, en donde nos conocimos en la defensa de los cerros sagrados y también de la espiritualidad maya de quienes nosotras y nosotros somos guardianes. Hemos sufrido una colonización en donde las religiones se han impuesto. Sin embargo, en el territorio maya quiché hemos venido trabajando para liberar nuestros cerros sagrados, que para nosotros y para nosotras son fuente de vida y son parte, y también es un pilar muy importante para nosotras y para nosotros y para toda la humanidad. Es importante entender que como personas somos seres intelectuales, somos seres razonables, somos seres espirituales y también energéticos. Y desde ese camino hemos conocido a la hermana Aurora Chávez. Asimismo, hoy ella está en una movilización y trabajo permanente, abriendo caminos, creando redes, entretejiendo fuerzas, generando sinergias a nivel nacional, a nivel internacional, y lamentamos mucho la criminalización que estamos viviendo en nuestros territorios, porque al momento que nosotras como pueblos originarios hablamos, se viene inmediatamente la judicialización y la criminalización por parte de ese sistema capitalista que a través de sus mecanismos de represión, de los mecanismos institucionales, se ejerce una represión. Y hoy día estamos enfrentando también mucha criminalización. Entonces, pero aquí estamos de pie, de frente, con ánimos de seguir, aplaudir el trabajo que se está realizando de parte del movimiento que ustedes representan a través de este premio que se le da a Aurora Chávez, y también para la defensa de la vida del territorio en nuestro pueblo maya quiché.
Mi nombre es Jessica Sánchez Maya, integrante del equipo directivo de Consorcio Oaxaca, con sede en México. Y bueno, realmente a lo largo de la región tenemos alta preocupación sobre el rol y papel de criminalización hacia las defensoras y defensores de derechos humanos que defienden tierra, territorio y medio ambiente. Tenemos casos lamentables como el caso de Berta Cáceres, que pues ya son 5 años del asesinato y todavía no se tiene justicia. Por otro lado, tenemos pues todas las empresas que han ponderado la explotación y despojo sin garantizar el derecho a la consulta, los derechos de pueblos indígenas, y eso ha originado efectivamente todo un proceso de descomposición del tejido social ocasionado por acciones de las empresas extractivistas, pero por otro lado también nos hemos encontrado con gobiernos que están manipulando, tergiversando el acceso a la justicia e iniciando detenciones en contra de quienes defienden tierra, territorio y medio ambiente. Lamentablemente en la región tenemos construidos diversos mecanismos de protección a defensoras y defensores de derechos humanos, pero que los que no gozan de presupuesto, no tienen el personal suficiente o falta voluntad política para proteger a defensoras y defensores, y ello ha arrojado en que hay gran cantidad de defensoras y defensores asesinados, pero también por otro lado defensores que han tenido que ser desplazados, reubicados a lugares diferentes de sus territorios. Y aquí necesitamos efectivamente que tanto la Organización de Naciones Unidas, la OEA, pongan mucho mayor atención sobre la evaluación y los diálogos con los gobiernos, porque efectivamente tenemos una gran cantidad de defensoras y defensores desplazados y que no pueden seguir desarrollando su labor debido a la falta de voluntad política en la región. Ahora, el papel de Lolita Chávez en la región ha sido un papel fundamental. Es una de las mujeres indígenas que ha hecho un trabajo desde hace muchos años de proteger y de empujar la defensa de la tierra y el territorio. Desgraciadamente, ella ha sido víctima de un proceso histórico de difamación, de desplazamiento, de criminalización que la ha obligado a no estar en su territorio, que es paradójico que alguien que defiende su territorio, su espacio, haya tenido que dejarlo para garantizar su vida. Esto es tremendamente grave porque efectivamente nos coloca la no garantía del ejercicio y la labor de defensa de derechos humanos en la región y en específico en Guatemala. A Lolita Chávez le reconocemos todo el aporte que ha dado a la iniciativa mesoamericana de defensores y a diversos procesos organizativos de fortalecimiento en la región latinoamericana y en varios países de Europa. Ella ha sido una mujer que ha abierto brecha, pero que lamentablemente también ha tenido que enfrentar los riesgos de que implica la defensa de los derechos humanos y la defensa de los derechos humanos de las mujeres. Desde Oaxaca agradecemos y reconocemos el aporte histórico de Lolita también hacia seguir empujando la identidad cultural, la defensa de los derechos colectivos y seguir fortaleciendo el hacer a favor de los derechos humanos y en específico de seguir garantizando la pertenencia de la tierra a los pueblos y la igualdad y equidad entre mujeres y hombres, y por otro lado, las garantías de acción de los pueblos y comunidades indígenas.
I'd now like to introduce Dr. Eric Spina, President of the University of Dayton.
Thank you very much, Shelley. I'm honored to be with you and with everyone who is attending today in this virtual space across many miles to help honor one of the world's greatest environmental activists and an unflinching defender of the rights of indigenous people. Before I present the 2021 Romero Human Rights Award to Ora Lalita Chavez Iskakik, I'd like to thank the University of Dayton's Human Rights Center and its partners. With vision, energy, and tireless work, the center joined with the Hanley Sustainability Institute, Ethos, Partnership and Service to the Catholic Church, the Race and Ethnic Studies Program, the Native Peoples of the Americas Colloquium, the Center for International Programs, the Institute for Pastoral Initiatives, the School of Law, the Father for Each Chair of Social Justice, and the Miami Valley Planning Commission to organize a series of events that has put a sharp, unblinking focus on environmental and climate justice. I'm impressed by and thankful for the scientists, lawyers, environmental justice activists, and others that the Human Rights Center assembled to explore, reflect upon, and fight for policy changes that will protect our common home for all communities. I extend my deep appreciation to Mauricio Lopez, who served as Executive Secretary of the Pan-Amazonian Ecclesial Network, REPAM, for joining us today. His own advocacy and his moving reflection on St. Romero's legacy remind us of the Church's profound commitment to an integral ecology and to enabling the inclusion of indigenous leaders in its realm. And I also offer special thanks to dear friend and the CEO of Counterpart International, Dr. Ann Hudak, for moderating a roundtable of experts who explored how human rights law can promote environmental protection for local communities. And I continue to be moved, as I have in past years, by the passion of University of Dayton students who, through the Moral Courage Project, tell powerful stories of the people who stand up during a crisis to create change. This year's multimedia project, Poison and Power, the Fight for Water, focuses on the right to clean and accessible water in Flint and Detroit, Michigan, and Appalachia. We must all become activists in the fight to make clean water accessible to everyone in our own communities and around the world. I'd like to reflect just for a moment on the significance of the Romero Human Rights Award. Saint Oscar Romero, the Archbishop of San Salvador, spoke up courageously for the poor and the marginalized before he was silenced by bullets while he presided over Mass 41 years ago. As we know, he was canonized by Pope Francis in 2018. The University of Dayton's Romero Human Rights Award is an international award that honors an individual or organization whose work, in the spirit of Saint Oscar Romero, has contributed significantly to the alleviation of human suffering and injustice in the face of challenge, hardship, and danger. The award itself, a bronze statue of Saint Romero, is an original piece sculpted by University of Dayton graduate Emily Trick and Marianist brother Gary Marcinowski. Today, the University of Dayton proudly bestows the 2021 Romero Human Rights Award upon Ora Lolita Chavez Iskakik, courageous defender of the rights of indigenous people and the preservation of their land in Guatemala. It's a sad commentary on our times that environmental and climate justice defenders remained under attack around the world, and certainly, as we've heard today, in Latin America. Lolita leads the Council of Quiche, which brings together 87 communities to preserve the ecosystem and resist environmental destruction by large developers. For that, she's faced threats, intimidation, and trumped up criminal charges. 5 years ago, Lolita and other members of the council blocked a truck illegally transporting wood. After the ensuing death threats, she's been forced to live in exile since 2017. Lolita gives voice to the role of indigenous women in the fight for environmental justice. Native women have been at the forefront of community activism while also burdened with multiple vulnerabilities to violence and exploitation. All people should be able to defend their land and live in peace without the fear of being ambushed, exploited, raped, or killed. As we pay tribute today to Lolita's inspiring frontline advocacy for the rights of indigenous people and protection of their lands, I'd like to personally recognize the first people of these lands on which the University of Dayton sits, the Miami and the Shawnee peoples, as well as many other sovereign nations who were removed from this region. Lolita, you call your life's work a fight for life and remind us in a powerful, visible way that the pursuit of environmental justice is a fight for the dignity of all people. Thank you for your courage, persistence, and your willingness to speak truth to power and mobilize a movement. We are honored today to present you with the Romero Human Rights Award. Congratulations very much.
Malteosh, ¿sí me escuchan? Camo, camo, humul, camul, oshmul, chechri bantahik, ri ushelal, ri kaslemal, ri kikelal, shukuje, ri ukushal, ri kaslemal. Malteosh, gracias. Gracias una vez. Gracias 2 veces, gracias 3 veces por la esencia que sostiene sus seres, su historia, su memoria, su sangre y su vientre, de quienes hacen posible este homenaje a la Universidad de Dayton y a todas aquellas ancestras que sostienen el territorio de Ohio. Gracias, Malteosh Cheikaslemal. Honro con esta expresión a mi pueblo maya quiché. Sus enseñanzas caminan conmigo. Gracias a sus vidas, al saludar y abrazar a los espíritus y al corazón del cielo, este día que es Ik en el calendario maya, donde dejaron plasmados nuestras abuelas y abuelos la forma de entender y vivir en el tiempo. ¿Estamos ahí? Por eso pedimos que el viento hoy nos acompañe con soplos de vida, acuerpando nuestras palabras. Hoy nuestras palabras son el soplo de los espíritus del viento. La justicia ambiental no es una moda. La justicia ambiental se construye con digna rabia, digna rebeldía y digna resistencia. Y a eso nos llaman nuestras ancestras, a no dejar a nadie atrás, que todos y todas se levanten según nuestras escrituras ancestrales, el Popol Vuh. Mis palabras se llenan de fuerza energética viva de mis ancestras al agradecer profundamente este reconocimiento que dedico a todas aquellas defensoras territoriales que han sido perseguidas y criminalizadas. Gracias. En memoria de quienes ya están en la otra dimensión. Gracias, Bertita Cáceres. Honrando también a las defensoras de la vida, que como yo, hemos tenido que salir de nuestros territorios por alzar la voz, la justicia, denunciar la represión, exigir justicia aquí y ahora, denunciar la militarización, denunciar las secuelas de las empresas extractivas asesinas, levantar la voz. No es un delito.
Es un derecho y como tal lo ejercemos con dignidad y con la cabeza levantada. Eso, por supuesto, no les gusta a los opresores que siempre han intentado que seamos sumisas, calladas y reprimidas. Las vidas que nos inspiran hoy no son eso. Hoy nos dan aliento. Hoy son muchas y plurales esas vidas y diversas son también las que lucharon hasta derramar su sangre junto a su pueblo, como es la vida de nuestro hermano, de nuestro compañero Óscar Romero, quien nos da esas grandes lecciones de la práctica espiritual, esas relaciones con la materia y con el camino hacia la justicia y liberación de los pueblos. Traer su historia, su legado, su memoria, traer al presente su vida es reconocer entonces también la gran labor de los pueblos organizados, como los pueblos del centro de Abya-Yala, del sur de Abya-Yala, como El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Panamá, pero también el norte de ese gran continente que ha aportado a la humanidad, que hemos luchado y seguiremos luchando por nuestro modelo de vida vinculado profundamente al respeto, no solo a los derechos de la humanidad, sino también de todas las comunidades, especies y tamaños, formas y colores de quienes cohabitamos la sagrada tierra. Hoy, a pesar de la imposición arbitraria de las políticas de terror bajo el paraguas COVID-19, hoy todo Abya-Yala, mal llamado América, seguimos tejiendo resistencia. Hoy les decimos a nuestras ancestras masacradas, desaparecidas, torturadas, desplazadas y violadas sexualmente. Hoy les decimos, sus rebeldías siguen presentes en redes de lucha constante, en un compromiso intergeneracional a esas rebeldías que tejieron con el hermano, el compañero Óscar Romero. Hoy les decimos, sus enseñanzas en las montañas están habitando nuestras sangres rebeldes, que es la misma sangre rebelde que corre por las venas de la madre tierra. Que no quede la menor duda. ¿Qué significa? Eso significa un profundo legado de lucha, de resistencia de nuestra gran Abya-Yala. Como hija de Abya-Yala y como heredera de una cosmogonía viva en mi pueblo maya quiché, pueblo aguerrido y valiente, les puedo decir a los mundos del sur, del este, del oeste y del norte, que uno de los grandes legados que nos dejan nuestras ancestras y ancestros en nuestras cosmovisiones de pueblos originarios es que el que la humanidad persista, el que la humanidad viva, no tiene que significar que otros seres sean eliminados, que otros seres tengan que morir, tengan que desaparecer comunidades completas de especies, porque cuando hablamos del buen vivir, es el buen vivir no solo para la humanidad, es el buen vivir para la tierra, es el buen vivir para las montañas, para los animales, para las comunidades vinculadas al agua, a las plantas y otras especies, porque todo tiene espíritu, todo tiene chumilal, por lo tanto, todo tiene vida. El llamado entonces, el llamado es a recuperar la confianza entre los pueblos y otras comunidades existentes. Conocer la vida de otras comunidades nos dará luces a la humanidad a caminar en la red de la vida. Recuperemos pues la confianza de la madre tierra, recuperemos pues la confianza al sagrado aire, al sagrado agua y al sagrado fuego. Recuperemos la confianza con otros seres cósmicos. Hoy nos unimos a esa esperanza emancipadora, esa esperanza transformadora. Hoy expresamos ese diálogo con nuestra expresión cósmica. Estamos en tiempos de profundas crisis generadas por las políticas de guerra impuestas en nuestros territorios. Nada es casual, nada es casual. Necesitamos llegar a las reflexiones profundas del origen de la hambruna, del origen del odio contra nuestra existencia como pueblos originarios, llegar a las raíces de la represión actual, conectándolo con los orígenes que dieron cabida a las guerras en nuestros territorios. Así que, al agradecer profundamente este reconocimiento, hago un llamado a otras generaciones, a la juventud, que no se limite a la tecnología, que los saberes mágicos están en la naturaleza. Convivir con la naturaleza genera una fuerza profunda, emancipadora, antiimperialista. Estar cerca de los pueblos originarios genera una fuerza anticolonial, antirracista, y estar cerca de las energías cósmicas genera una fuerza antipatriarcal. Sirva pues este mensaje de esperanza a la humanidad, pues con rebeldía y amor revolucionario les decimos a nuestras ancestralidades: seguimos adelante con nuestra lucha, no vamos a descansar hasta ver florecer a nuestra gran Abya-Yala y a todo el mundo. Las multinacionales, empresas extractivas, nos han estudiado, sí, nos han estudiado. ¿Conocen muchas de nuestras acciones? Sí, pero lo que no entenderán nunca y lo que no saben es de dónde viene tanta energía entretejida de los pueblos. Tenemos nuestros secretos. Eso es la vida vinculada a la madre tierra. Somos sus semillas y raíces con saberes ancestrales. Hoy nos topamos con contextos hostiles en Abya-Yala. Las empresas no se confinaron. Eso denunciamos energéticamente. Ahora se habla ya de lavado verde generado por redes criminales de grandes corporaciones que usan falsas respuestas al calentamiento global y al cambio climático, dando mandatos occidentales online. Las empresas perfeccionaron sus estrategias de ataque mediático, legal, político, cultural y social, pero las multinacionales invasoras con los estados entreguistas como el estado de Guatemala no saben ni sabrán las grandes sabidurías, los consejos, las enseñanzas de los pueblos y las comunidades. Hoy también agradecemos al sostén comunitario universitario popular. Gracias a la red de la vida, gracias al cosmos, porque a pesar de las restricciones pandémicas, estamos aquí celebrando. El llamado a la juventud es también que no dejen de respirar la libertad. Las ciberacciones les aíslan, les aprisionan, les invaden sus territorios. Estar sentada o sentado en un móvil frente a una computadora por 8 horas al día, todos los días, no es estudiar. Ese es un falso aprendizaje, se lo dice una maestra. Suelten sus celulares y bajen a la tierra. Les necesitamos aquí y ahora. Para cerrar este ciclo de mis palabras, les digo, celebrando esta gran obra de arte que es la vida, vivamos este momento, vivámoslo pues, pero vivámoslo con el vínculo profundo a nuestra cosmogonía y a nuestro cosmoser. Este reconocimiento, para finalizar, lo dedico también a todos los pueblos, a los movimientos, a las organizaciones con quienes hemos tejido esfuerzo colectivo por justicia, libertad, verdad y lucha por vidas y vidas dignas. Y con el corazón y con un profundo amor a mi hijo y a mi hija, recibo este reconocimiento diciéndoles: volveré, volveré, volveré a mi territorio sagrado. Volveré a las montañas mágicas quichés. ¿Cuándo? Hijos, Hijas, no lo sé, pero volveré. Las abuelas y abuelos lo saben. Maltiosh Chigüe. Este es el mensaje, porque tenemos el derecho de vivir en un territorio que para nosotras es sagrado. Muchas gracias. Le paso la voz a Sierra Leone con su arte y su poema.
Thank you, Lolita, for all the work you've done. Sorry, is that better? So thank you, Lolita, for all the work you've done and the passion that you do it with. It's a privilege for all of us at the University of Dayton to be able to honor you here with this award. We'd now like to welcome Sierra Leone, a renowned local poet. After Sierra, the inspiring students from our Moral Courage Project, Power and Poison, the Fight for Clean Water, will share a reflection on their work. Sierra?
Good afternoon. Congratulations on your award, Lolita. The poem I'm sharing is entitled Daughters Rising from the Dust. It is not easy to speak to greatness. Sisters living in the spirit, graciously grateful. Patient by nature, brave-hearted matriarchs, exemplifying an intrinsic constitution, defying universal subdivision. Worship, unconditional commitment, passed down through matrilineal descendants, sacred beings, bearing precious gifts of kindness, rooted deep in their paternal family tree. A blessing's blessing, bestowed with the compassion to convert fertile soil of future deeds into inspiration for the entire human race. Women who have stared fortitude in the face. Most days the Creator carries the weight. You are deliberate creations, never allowing the pains of life to compromise dedication. Authentic trailblazers with heart that is superior to time and space. You are the rhythm. You are voices of liberation, an evolving ethnographic shade of centuries past, protector of all living origins, catalyst and root of the movement, scar and motivation of an unnamed nation, the universe's universal soulmate, daughters rising from the dust. Now we will have Moral Courage Project students. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Hello, my name is Bridget Graham. I am a third-year political science and human rights studies student, and I have been working on this iteration of the Moral Courage Project for about a year and a half now. If you're not familiar with the Moral Courage Project, it combines the Human Rights Center's efforts in community engagement with our emphasis on storytelling and narrative as advocacy. In a partnership with the New York-based NGO Proof, Media for Social Justice, the Moral Courage Project engages in human rights storytelling that features the actions of ordinary people during extraordinary situations. We strive to produce accessible platforms that center the experiences of those whose narratives and perspectives are omitted from mainstream narratives of crisis, for the purposes of contributing to a more robust historical record and inspiring audiences to be change makers in their own communities. To serve this goal, the center recruits teams of undergraduate students, prepares them to conduct fieldwork, and then immerse ourselves in a community in or recovering from crisis. So, in the past, our work has brought us to Ferguson, Missouri in the season Ferguson Voices to learn from individuals who witnessed and shaped the 2014 uprising, and to the US-Mexico border in the season America the Borderland to listen to the defenders of immigrant rights. In spring 2021, we launched our third initiative, Poison and Power, the Fight for Water, an examination of upstanders from Flint, Detroit, and Appalachia, struggling to secure access to clean and affordable water. With the stories we hear in each location, we create a multimedia package that includes a podcast series, interactive websites, traveling exhibitions, and a teaching curriculum. Like I said, I've been involved in the project for the past year and a half now, and I have a lot of things I could say about the Moral Courage Project, but mostly I've been thinking about something that happened in the past few weeks. I was editing some audio from one of our storytellers while speaking to my sister, and she overheard one of them, Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha, a public health advocate whose research exposed the Flint water crisis and is now part of an ongoing initiative to mitigate the impact of the crisis. So when I was talking to my sister, while the audio plays in the background, my sister said, mostly sarcastically, "How can you manage it listening to all these inspiring people all day? There's so many good fights." And I thought that the next time I'm asked to describe the Moral Courage Project to someone, that is the language I'll be using. It's a podcast about people fighting good fights. This season of Moral Courage is about water and the ways it's been poisoned and kept from multiple communities across the United States, specifically in Flint, Detroit, and Appalachia. But we talked to people from around the map, from scientists in California to indigenous water warriors right here in Dayton, and each one of them had something unique to say about the ways environmental degradation has affected them and their communities. One value of the Moral Courage Project has been, for me, to see the way these activists, who often call themselves water warriors, are able to push past the rhetoric around human rights issues and look closely at the consequences. What does it mean for a mother getting her kids ready in the morning when they have to carry water bottles alongside their books? What does it mean to get the same notices that your water may be dangerous to children or expecting mothers for years and years without anything ever changing? For the people at the front lines of pollution, climate change, and environmental destruction, these things are not happening after 2030. They're not faraway disasters at some point down the road, but real problems right now. Learning the stories of these people was often a light for me in a very dark and difficult pandemic year, both personally and for the world at large, with racial injustice, violence against women, and climate change raging on alongside the pandemic. The stories of moral courage we found in Poison and Power are the stories of hope and resilience against the forces that threaten the most basic rights human beings have, water and life itself. The hope at the center of these stories is the hope at the center of the environmental movement. We love our home. Something I found with so many storytellers was such a deep and true love for the natural landscape and communities that lived in their hometowns. So much so that even when I was quarantined at my home in Kansas City, I often found myself feeling as though I was in the mountains near Martin County, Kentucky, or in the neighborhoods of Flint. Poison and Power is about people deeply loving the earth and the people in it, loving it so much that they are willing to fight governments, powerful community members, water companies, and more to make these places better and safer to live in. I found that the stories that help most in these times are about the hope of everyday people, the hope of retired biology teachers, concerned mothers and doctors that love the place they're in and use that love to face down the status quo, fight against the destruction of the environment when no politician does. Again and again, the water warriors of Poison and Power said something along the lines of how they felt they had very little choice in their actions of moral courage. Once they heard about the poisoning of water in their communities, they had to say something, they had to do something. The activist Gina Luster, who founded Flint Rising, put it like this: all we basically knew was to fight like hell for clean water, and that's what we're doing. We were just screaming. screaming for clean water from pipes for their community and for their environment. This work and the work of Power and Poison is the good fight, the fight for the natural world we all share and for the most vulnerable to the devastating effects of continued environmental degradation, both now and the future. I invite you all to check out poisonandpower.com and listen to Moral Courage Radio, wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks, Bridget. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for having me and the rest of the Moral Courage representatives here to speak about this project. First, a bit about me. My name's Meg, as you can see on the Zoom screen, and I'm currently a senior here studying communications with 2 minors actually in political science and international studies. Why I picked up those minors actually a lot is because of the Moral Courage Project and the first one that I was on campus for, which was America at the Borderland. I remember listening to the podcast religiously and wondering how students could be finding and creating these podcasts and hearing all these stories and doing such inspirational work. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that. So I was trying to find ways that I could be able to sell myself more when it came down to being a part of the Moral Courage team for the cycle I would be a part of. But back to Moral Courage, of course, and the one that we're working on now, Power and Poison. It has truly been one of my favorite experiences of college. The opportunity to use this experiential learning experience that spans across the United States and has connected me with some of the most incredible and diverse groups of people. As Bridget was saying, mothers fighting for their children and doctors working for their community and activists that were so connected to their hometown that they flew back to be able to help their community with the Flint water crisis or Appalachia to gain access to a basic human right that I, before hearing about these crises, definitely took for granted. It's something that truly has baffled me, like this fundamental human right. And our human nature is so reliant on water and the ability to access water. And we all have this connection through water, yet there's many people across this country that don't have everyday access to clean water, can't brush their teeth, can't wash their hair, can't do their dishes in their running water. And it's because the system has failed them, basically. It's because politicians have put money in front of them. It's because there's people out there that are bigger and stronger and corporations that don't care about the little folk. So it was hearing these activists, or what we call water warriors, stand up for their community and really put their lives on the line for it. One of the upstanders, Joanna Goldenhill, actually received multiple death threats for her work. And she, of the spunky Appalachian she is, she said there was no way in hell she was going to stop fighting for clean water for her generation and generations to come. This focus on water rights has truly been an incredible thing, especially in this climate where climate change is on the horizon, yet most times in the media and even in our legislative system, it's just overshadowed by a bunch of different other issues and just keeps getting pushed to the forefront when really it needs to be in the front and center of what we are trying to do as a country. My role on the team specifically was to work with the website and put all these stories to life and create content and a design experience along with a few other members of the team and then the designer in Australia and a few others to make an actionable experience to really inspire people to become change makers in their own community. This truly has been a life-changing experience, getting to hear about all these people who refuse to sit still and take what they were given and to stand up to the system. And I really could not be more grateful to have been a part of this Moral Courage Project, specifically with the fight for clean water. And thank you again for having me, Jared, and Bridget speak with you about this project. Now to Jared.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jared Marsh. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm a recent graduate at the University of Dayton. I graduated this past December of 2020 with a degree in human rights studies and concentrations in sustainability and Chinese. I'm one of the fortunate students who was able to participate in this iteration of the Moral Courage Project, Power and Poison, the fight for water. I helped work and conduct interviews and listen to stories over the summer months during our field work. And then, as Meg had mentioned, I was a part of the website team where we designed and ultimately published the Moral Courage website. So that is live, it is real. Please go visit it because we put a lot of work into it. Before I continue any further, I want to thank all of our partners in Michigan, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, and throughout the Appalachian region. I also want to thank Professor Inglis, Dr. Hudson, Dr. Pruce, Dr. Kahn, and everyone else who made this project possible, including all of you for listening. Now, I want you all to travel back with me to the spring of 2020, as the Moral Courage team was preparing to conduct fieldwork. We were asked, what is our priority for the project? And so I wrote, my priority for the Moral Courage Project is to be an empathizing and compassionate human being when I'm listening to someone's story. Now, as we all know, much has changed since the spring of 2020. But for me, the one thing that has not changed is the need to be an empathizing and compassionate human being, the need to listen to someone's story. What has changed throughout this process of conducting interviews and listening to stories of moral courage is the need to share these stories as loud as possible. Many people will talk about, we are not giving voice to anyone or a particular group of people because that would assume they do not have a voice. Rather, we are amplifying their stories and we are elevating their voices so that it might be shared and listened by all of you and throughout the country and world as they fight for the right to water. As I was listening to our water warriors' stories in their fight for the right to clean water, my view of human rights advocacy was changed. Prior, I thought of places like New York City, DC, or the UN. But when you listen to these stories in the podcast on the website, you'll hear how these local grassroots organizers fought in their own community, and they fought against these many systems that have been referenced. And so this impacted, where I ultimately looked for jobs and ended up in the role I am today at a local nonprofit called Action Tank, where we advocate for new public policy solutions at the local government level. And so it encouraged me to think locally. And so I invite you all to consider who in your community does not have access to clean water. These places are not just in Appalachia. They are not just in Flint or Detroit. They're throughout the country. So I want you to ask yourself that question. And as we look to the future of what is yet to be overcome, I am reminded of the need to continue creating spaces for people to tell their stories, and to continue creating spaces for these stories and voices to be shared, to be uplifted. And so I invite you all to listen to the Moral Courage podcast, to share with us in these stories. And before I go, I want to leave you all with a challenge. That challenge is to continue fighting for change while allowing space for joy. One of our team members, Jill Parker, passed away during the Moral Courage Project, but Jill was someone who embodied what it means to fight for change while creating room for joy. As you listen to the stories of moral courage on the podcast, I hope you all are reminded of Jill and what it means to fight for change while creating room for joy. And before we turn it over, we will now hear a brief clip from the Moral Courage Project, Power and Poison, the Fight for Water, where you will get a sneak peek into the stories of moral courage that you will hear on the podcast when you do listen to it, and which I know you will. So please join me in watching this clip.
And when ours broke October 11th of 2000, 306 million gallons of arsenic sludge and heavy metals went into our drinking water supply. November the 2nd, I found out I was pregnant with my first child. December, on our water bill on the back, it said if you are pregnant, infant, elderly, have a compromised immune system, consult a physician before consuming this water. It's what we do is a passion. It really is. You either have it or you don't. And I care about all these people. I care about water. So these babies that are going out to recess and PE, when they come in and go to the water fountain, it's like lambs being led to the slaughter.
When I first moved home, I didn't have any kids. And shortly thereafter I moved home, I got pregnant with my daughter, who's now 12. And especially becoming a parent, that really put the fire up under me to get out and do something. I'm sick all the time. It's just crazy. But so I'm like, I'll go to jail for insurance. I'll go to jail for water, I'll go to jail for insurance, and I'll go to jail for the environment. I got a few things, and my daughter. I'll go to jail for a few things. So.
Pediatrics 101 is one of the first things that we learn as pediatricians is that moms are always right. Trust the mom. Listen to moms. If the mom says the kid is sick, the kid is probably sick. So it's all about listening and respecting what patients and people have to say, and that was absolutely violated in Flint, and it's violated all the time. I never should have had to do what I did in Flint. I never should have had to prove that kids were being poisoned. First of all, our crisis never should have started, but it should have stopped when that first mom raised a jug of brown water and said there's something wrong.
We can't stay angry, because in anger, what we'll stay traumatized. But if we're going to move toward transformation, then we have to move in a way that says belovedness. A good mother loves her children. So it's through the framework of belovedness, not that we just love each other and our community and our children, but we deeply and dearly love our children and our community. So it's out of belovedness that we do our work.
And this is Poison and Power, to Fight for Water, a moral courage project, a partnership of the University of Dayton Human Rights Center and Proof, Media for Social Justice.